computer. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode with Rosie, your realtor. And today for another visit, we have Janet Sprisler again with Rent 805. Hey Janet.
Hello, how are you? Thank you again for having me on here again. I just love it.
Yes, no, thank you for coming. And in your honor, since you're Rent 805, I brought my Ventura vest.
I love it. I love it.
Already know 805 now. And it was cold this morning, but anyhow.
It's cold this morning, but.
Yeah, so obviously I felt it important to have you on here again because there is like just so much happening. And as I stated before, I don't personally deal with rentals at all, nor do I want to. But I just think it's so important because I do have a lot of clients that have rentals. So I felt it very important to get you back on here so that people really understand what's going on and all the changes, because oftentimes your mom and pop, they just don't, or they think it doesn't apply to them, and it absolutely does. So share some info with us.
All right. So I have some updates. I know that we had talked about the Oxnard ordinances. I am still running webinars for owners that need to know more. But the big things you need to know is that it was adopted on May 3rd, and June 4th is when the website will open, which happens to be on a Saturday. I was like, how are they gonna?
They're bad. There's no IT support because it's the weekend. Oh, it makes total sense. Total sense.
Yeah. So the website's going to open. From what I understand, they will have even a brochure available that explains all the steps that you have to take, which is great because we didn't know we were going to get a brochure. They still will be putting out the ordinances. You know, they will be publishing it. They're hoping to have some sort of owner education that takes about, they said up and running within 6 months, but all owners have to be registered within 30 days. That's the big thing. They have not decided on the fee that's going to be charged, whether it's the tenant protection side or the rent control side. They don't know how that fee is going to play out yet, if they're going to split it or what they're going to do, but they have decided the fines. I don't have those fines currently, but those have been decided, which I think is great because then you have an idea of, hey, I got to get my life together. I have 30 days to do so. But I think the website's going to help a lot because I just didn't understand how they were going to handle all that traffic in at the city.
Yeah.
For those owners that do not have availability to a computer, I'm sure that they'll have something that they'll work out. I don't know how that's going to work, but the notices they're still going to be providing. I understand there's going to be a drop down box. Sort of kind of what I understand it to be. Don't quote me on it, but I think we'll drop those down.
Mystery.
Yeah, a little mysterious, because the notices have to be done in the language that you've negotiated the lease in, or their native language. So if you've had a conversation beyond the English of the lease, then you also have to provide the notice in the language that they speak. So they're going to provide English, Spanish, Tagalog, and the 4 dialects of Mixteca. Did I say that right? Sure.
Is Mixteca or Oaxaca?
Oaxaca.
Okay. When you said Mixteca, I'm like, oh, I thought it was Oaxacan, but hey, I've been wrong before. Okay, yeah.
You know what?
There's a lot in Oxnard of that.
Pardon?
There's a lot of them in Mexico. I mean, in Oxnard. Sorry, yeah. I want to go there. That's why I'm thinking Mexico. I really want to go to Oaxaca. They do amazing artwork out there. So anyhow, different subject.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. So it's the 4 dialects. So they're going to go ahead. You'll have to figure out which dialect that would be, but then you can just go ahead and download those notices. Every tenant needs to get a notice. It has to go on a unit. I've had one person say, well, what if one tenant speaks, a second language and the first one does not? Then you're doing 2 notices. And I believe this notice is going to be like, what I'm thinking is notice is going to be like English, and then you're going to be able to do a second paragraph, maybe. I don't know. It seems like it still would be 1 notice for the unit, but all languages that are spoken in that unit would have to be notified. Yeah.
I mean, just seriously, another hurdle for landlords, right? You think, okay, we're in America, we speak English. I do it in English, it should suffice. And obviously it's not. I mean, there's just, hopefully this website is very user-friendly, and as long as they have, these landlords either have a realtor that can connect you with you or the city, but again, people think, oh, I'm just going to rent my house. And it's not like old days where you just said, hey, Bennett, want to rent my house? And we do what we say we're going to do. Like there's so much more.
Yeah. So a lot of people call and say, what can I do? So here's your big tips.
Okay.
Get a lease. Number one, get a lease, rental agreement, whatever you want to call it, because the city of Oxnard says that after 30 days, whether they're living there with a lease, without a lease, on a verbal handshake, on a verbal agreement, on a wink of the eye, after 30 days, they are a tenant for life. And everybody is subject to the Tenant Protection Act, not the rent control. But I think that to keep it broader, because I think the whole rent control people get so confused with, and really the owners are just calling to make sure that they can evict somebody if they haven't paid rent. Yes, you can evict somebody if they have not paid rent. But the big one is that Tenant Protection Act portion of it, because it's $5,000 or 2 months worth of rent that you need to give within 15 days when you give notice for not a reason that they've done something against the lease, or a reason why you normally would go to court to evict somebody. It's called the non-just eviction, not just cause eviction that you're giving them. So you're going to sell the unit or you're moving somebody back in. But if you do not have provisions in your lease, so if you have a California Association of Realtor lease, it has a provision in there if you're going to be selling or whatever that says you have to give notice and different things that you can do. But if you have a verbal agreement, you don't have those provisions, and then you do not have those rights. So one of them is if you want to move yourself back in, or your spouse or your domestic partner, it goes 2 up, 2 down. So it goes up to children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents. If you want to move somebody in and you don't have a lease provision that states that they can move in, and then they have to stay there for 24 months, according to the city of Oxnard, then the tenant has to approve it. If it's in the lease, they don't have to approve it because it's already in there. They've already said, we understand if you need to move back in,
we're out. Yeah.
So you can't write provisions like, we're not going to give you the money on the way out. We're not going to give you HMVs. They can't sign away their rights, but there are certain lease qualifications that if it's in the lease, it's standard in a lease, then you're set. You're not going to find it in, something you pick up from Staples or find online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Again, people want to do things on their own. And there was a time where we could, get our own milk from the cow. So much has changed. And that's, again, why even me as a realtor, a licensed realtor that deals with the stay in and out, I have a condo already under contract in Oxnard. Tenants didn't want to get out, haven't paid rent since December. But I got an attorney involved. I am not the professional. When it comes to renting, it's you. When we're having issues, get an attorney involved. I mean, it is the best spent money for a landlord, especially when they're still having to make that mortgage payment. Now they're upside down. This is get it out of the way if we have a cause or not, because it maybe something happened, they need to move in. That I can't stress enough, especially in this state, hiring the right professionals that have the right forms, are up to date with the laws to represent you, especially in real estate, which is their largest investment. And they think, oh no, I want it all. Don't be greedy because it ends up costing you so much more.
Yes, I agree with that. Because I have a lot of people say, well, can you just do notices for me? No, I am not a law firm. Would I do it for my own clients that I have an agreement, I've done their property management, I know the full story.
Exactly.
Yes, do that. But to come off the street and say, can you do notices for me? That now is illegal.
Yeah.
One is legal work. So I'm always going to
say, if it's your client and you have the lease, you know that you have the right provisions in there. You know what your rights are, because this is what you do day in and day out. It's not just like, oh, everything's falling apart now.
Yeah. And I have the background, right? Because I've done the background. I'm the one who's been dealing with them.
Absolutely.
But sometimes when people come off the street, they're like, well, I just want to do this. I send you to an attorney. I'm straight up. I'll send you to an attorney, because one mistake in this situation, or even I have some properties down in LA, I won't even touch those notices because LA is a hot mess right now.
Yes.
If you do one mistake with a notice, you're going to end up getting a fine, or worse.
And you're starting over.
You're going to start over or not have to do anything at all. Because there's one part in the Oxnard ordinances to say that if you do not follow what we're saying, and it's a UD, which is you're going to court to get somebody out, you have not followed our requests, it's not winnable in court, which a lot of people think it's just, well, that's just the way it is.
It's my house, I can get them out. No.
Yeah. And then I know we were talking earlier, the folks up in River Park, you know, you have those cute little ADUs sitting on top of your garages. You might be renting to friends or family, but those are going to be required to be registered as a rental unit. So there's a lot to it. I shouldn't say a lot to it, but there's certain things that you have to do. And if you don't do it, then you're going to see yourself being fined. And it's now's the time to, you know, everyone says friends and family, sometimes they're the roughest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's happened to me, right? They expect the most. Literally, I had a family member come to me and say, well, I've decided to go back to school. So I'm not going to work. So I was thinking instead of paying you this, I could only pay you, you know, a couple $100s. It's like, that's not how it works.
Right.
Right. But their family, they think that that's okay. And it's like, no. Just because you can't, like, then I'm sorry. You know, and I don't mean to be mean, but you don't know what my responsibilities are, right? A lot of these landlords, they have a mortgage. They're banking on renting these and having them be a future retirement plan. So when you stop paying or can't pay, or you have to go through the court to get them out, there's fees involved. And it's very unfortunate from the landlord's perspective. But because I've been dealing with a lot of them.
Yeah, I know you have. Yeah, it's, you know, it's just a crazy time right now, but it's interesting. You know, the city really just wants everyone to have it. If they're going to have an income property, treat it like a business. So
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing that people can take away. So if you don't have a lease, if it is not registered with the city as a rental, if it is not registered with a business license, for those that need a business license, get your business license, because that's going to come back and bite you. If you have verbal agreements that you think you can go around, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you are renting out a single family home, individual rooms, on the time you get to that third bedroom, which is the key word on that one, the third bedroom, everybody is now protected under the Tenant Protection Act, and each door is then owed that $5,000 or 2 months worth of rent, whichever is greater. So it's not, you can say, yeah, you know, you don't qualify under rent control.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't qualify under rent control, but you qualify under the Tenant Protection Act if you're renting by the room.
Wow, so it's the private entrance or when you hit that third bedroom.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And the owner lives there. And because a lot of people think, oh, well, the owner lives, because they say if the owner lives there and you're renting by the room, then no, you're not under the Tenant Protection Act. But once you get to that third bedroom, even if the owner lives there, now every door becomes under that Tenant Protection Act. So you're looking at $15,000 right there off the bat.
Good to know, because I actually have one that I'm going to be dealing with, and they have one room rented, so I'm still good.
Yeah, you're so good.
I won't even tell you what they pay, right? And they're like, oh, well, we're comfortable here. Well, that when the unit goes up for sale, unfortunately, you know, I'm telling you well in advance, it's coming. But they're, wow, okay, good to know. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, and I would do that. You have to do a 60-day notice for them. I would just do whatever you're supposed to do. And for those units, so I did talk to the city about this, because there's like this overlapping time. So some people have given 60 days notices like now.
Okay.
It will come into effect after the 4th. Like it. So if they gave it to them now, 60 days from now, it's going to be the middle of July. But now we come up and the ordinance it's alive, right? It's in place.
Okay.
So what they said was, go ahead and give out the notice, follow AB 1482, which is the state rent control program.
Okay.
It's specific towards certain units. And you would give them, if they have not been notified that they are exempt, then they are not exempt. And you need to give within 15 days the 1 month of rent. AB 1482 says you can give 1 month of rent, or you can do the last month rent free. However, because now you're playing with this ordinance, if you give them money, it's probably going to be deducted from the 5,000, unless they decide that, oh, you followed what was current state law, and we're not going to do it, because they haven't decided. Now it's being brought up, and they're like, okay, we didn't think about this. We have to overcome it.
Yeah.
But if you give the last month rent free and the tenant protection is in play, you may end up paying 5,000 and doing that last month for free. So keep that in mind if you're following AB 1482. Give the check within the 15 days. Do not do the rental the last month free, because you might end up getting a little bit bitten there.
Yeah.
And it's better to be safe than sorry.
Well, I'm so grateful. There's two that literally were expected to be out last week on the 4th. So I feel like I got them out. I'm so grateful. And I feel like I just made the cutoff and now I'm just dealing with this other one that, is going to court. But you brought up, you made me think of something because I know, and I just hadn't thought about this, but I know obviously you deal property management and I'm a big advocate for you. But what about like these ADUs or if somebody's just renting a room? I mean, could they hire you to basically treat it as a rental as well? Or do you only do like the entire dwelling?
So if it's something where everyone should be on a lease, I do leases. I take care of leases because there's so many other caveats that the state has said you have to have in place.
Yeah.
So I do leases. I'm also covering currently, if you're in the city of Oxnard, it would be your lease, your notice and your registration, and then I would not cover your registration fee because we don't know what that is. I'm not gonna cover the unknown. So you would just pay the registration fee, but we would take care of all the noticing and all, just to make sure that you're covered in time. Because by July 4th, which might be July 5th, because that's a holiday, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. You have to be registered or you're going to hit a fine.
Mhm.
So it is something I do. And if you want to, is it okay if I let people know where to find
You can,
work?
hey, and all the information you want to share, you are good.
Thank you.
I hope I'm doing this for my clients. So like I said, I don't deal with rentals. I just hope they appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on here to help me educate my clients. So you share away.
Absolutely. So they can go to rent805.com/Oxnard-owners.
Well, here, I'll go ahead and share your business card.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So you can go there or you can reach out to me. Go to my website, sign up for a contact because I am running webinars on Thursday evenings.
Okay.
For just to teach people what's going on with these ordinances. We let a question, and at the end we do a question and answer session, or right in between rent control and the tenant protection. Okay. We have a little small question and answer because a lot of people don't have it. They get the rent control. It's super easy, 4%, you're done.
Yeah.
Once we explain what units are applied to or not, but it's the tenant protection that really floors people. And the ADUs are covered. Granny flats you would have to pay out for a granny flat, 3 rooms or more. So if you know, like you can only do 2 rooms in your house, it's, you do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I'm going to be renting out 3 rooms.
Bring Janet on.
It gets to be a little confusing, especially because of the fact that you're renting by the room. I would probably point them in the way to go because it's very interesting because you're really only supposed to have 1 lease on per dwelling.
Oh, okay.
They're doing these individual leases. And we all know that they are. I do not know how the state or the city is going to look at those coverings and what they're really looking for. Okay. Then they might be like, well, these are just verbal or the handshakes or they are what they are. But, and for folks that are like, well, I have a verbal, how are they going to know? All that tenant has to do is telling you. End the conversation. And let's face it, your neighbor.
You say, hey, I need you out. Oh, guess what? You haven't been following the rules. I mean, it's personally always just better to be protected. And again, I'm a big advocate of you because I personally had a full-on go to court with tenants that I couldn't get out. I thought it's no big deal. And this was years ago, over a decade. I would never do this again. But I thought, I'm a realtor. I know what I'm doing. I'll use my forms. We'll get renters in there. But I don't have like some of the tools you have to run the credit reports, right? Unless I'm using a lender, they can't do it for those reasons. So, you are licensed and you have the tools that you need to better qualify these, these tenants and the forms that you need. And I didn't have that. But, I was young and no problem. They're a great family. Well, then they stopped paying. And then they wouldn't get out. And it just, or they pay a little bit to start the process over and find it's like, I can't do this. I can't afford it. And so, yeah. I'm grateful for people like you.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much goes on in the background right now with property management because there's so many scammers. You can go and you can buy a paycheck off the web. There's literally, and they were doing like this breakdown where people would have jobs. And then for $700, they would sell you their credit report and their job and they would fix it so it said your name on it. So I do use, you have to go through Experian with me. I don't even touch, I'll be honest with you, I don't even touch my leases. You go into a website, you apply for the unit, it then goes to Experian. Then there's this AI in the background that goes, they made this amount of money, it hit their account. They, everything is just, they have to like triple check everything.
Checks and balances.
To make sure that you are who you say you are. Your license is actually a license. Like there's this whole scan that they do because there are certain nuances where you can buy a license and it looks very much like a license, but it's not a license because they don't make them like they did back in the day. And I was trying to pretend I was 21, right? Right. And you were like, Houlihanny and I'm 50 or whatever, trying to get into that bar. There's no more of that. And so they've come to where they can literally put, there's that 3D bear, I think that we have.
Yeah.
But and they know how to do all that. The cleverness of the evil is really quite interesting.
Oh yeah.
You can find it on the web. So yeah.
No, these hackers, I mean, it's like, man, if you put that energy into a more ethical, you'd be probably more successful than just trying to scam people. But I'm sure we'll always have scammers, and we'll always have people that just feel that they're owed something, and it's unfortunate.
It's staying one step ahead. A big one on using all the bells and whistles because it's about staying one step ahead and keeping people, as much as you can, keeping their liability down.
Absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate you, and maybe once those websites are out, feel free to share them. We'll have to do maybe a little post where we have your website, the city website, and just provide those resources out there because again, so many people think they don't apply to them, and they absolutely do.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if one of my owners will let me, when I'm registering them, let me screenshot it so that I can say, and just wait out their stuff and say, hey, here's what you do here, here's what you do, because the older set has, I have parents, they have rental properties, they're not gonna be able to figure out this web. You know what I mean? They just don't, it's not something they don't want to. So the bees are coming to you.
Yes, I just looked, there's a ton more.
Oh my
gosh. But they're good luck, right? These are good luck.
Bees
I'm not scared of them. But I looked up and there is a bunch on my blinds. It's like, where's this bee guy? He's on his way, but anyhow.
All right.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's Friday the 13th. Get out of that room.
My God, you're right. Okay, that's scary. They're not good luck anymore. I'm just kidding. All right, Janet. Well, thank you again so much. You are such a wealth of knowledge. Obviously, you're not just in this as a job. I mean, you could totally tell that your passion for this, and it is very much appreciated and very much needed in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing me with your folks, because this is all about staying out of trouble. Not paying
you and me both. All right. Thank you so much, Janet.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, hon. Okay. Bye.